I'm Christy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to recommend some hockey romances I've been loving lately. So I think we all know around here that I've been obsessed with hockey romances recently and have just been thriving with all the new releases. So I thought this would be a fun one to do for my trope recommendation videos. So I think I have about 15 or 16 to recommend and we're just gonna jump right into it. First up is On Thin Ice by LA Cotton. This is part of her Lakeshore U series. So there are a couple more in this series that I recommend as well. And this one was just a fun time. In this one, we have a grumpy, broody hero who definitely comes off as an alpha hole at the beginning of the story. The heroine in here has celiac, so we get that representation. And then a side character, the hero's younger brother, has autism, and so we get to see that represented throughout the story as well. Oh, and we find out that the heroine in here is also the estranged daughter of the hero's coach. So we have that going on as well. This one, like I mentioned, the hero is a bit of an alpha hole at the beginning of the story. He's super rude and you're definitely not rooting for him at first. He comes off very judgmental about the heroine, like he assumes she's only a puck bunny and pretending she's interested in hockey to like get with different hockey guys. But then of course he realizes that he judged her wrongly and he can't get her out of his head. We also see that she works with his brother and so they have a super adorable bond as well, which was fun to see. I just love this one. The hero has the weight of the world on his shoulders and so that is definitely why he comes off kind of rude in the beginning of the story. Like his only exceptions are his mom, his younger brother, and of course the heroine later as well. Yeah, I just had a great time with this one. It has all of the tropes that I love and I just love a grumpy hero who falls so hard for the heroine and like hates the fact that he's falling for her. So we have that going on as well. Next up is Wildcat by Rebecca Genshak, which I read this entire series, and this is the first book in the series. This one, like I mentioned, is a hockey romance series, and this one we have a little bit of a forbidden aspect because the heroine is the coach's daughter. So in this one, the hero and the heroine meet at the beginning of the story and they meet at a bar and he can't believe that she doesn't realize who he is. So he's kind of enjoying that fact that like somebody doesn't know that he's like this major hockey star. So they end up sharing a fun night together and kind of go their separate ways. So he's definitely hooked on her from the beginning. Like he's convinced that she is his dream girl. He even calls her that later on in the story until realizes that she is his hockey coach's daughter. This one, the heroine's life is kind of a mess when the story starts. She recently dropped out of college. She actually also got out of a bad relationship with a Formula One racer, and so she's kind of sworn off athletes as a boyfriend. But she is trying to pursue her career with photography and ends up reconnecting with her dad, who she sees his office as like a mess and offers to help him out. She also like takes team photos of the team and like travels around with them. So it puts her and the hero in a lot of like close proximity situations together. This one was just cute, super low angst. If you love the hero falling first, this hero falls first fast and hard, and he's also like the pursuer and the one trying to get her attention. Next one in the series is Wild About You, which is my favorite in the series, so I had to recommend it as well. And in this one, we have a second chance between high school exes as well as the heroine kind of becoming the nanny for the hero's sister, who he becomes the guardian of. So yeah, like I mentioned, the hero is a hockey star. He is like a rookie. His life is going great. His career is going great. And then at the beginning of the story, his 17-year-old sister shows up at his front door and is like, hey, I want to live with you. Also, I want to drop out of high school. So he kind of tries to get her life back on track. He puts her back in high school, and then he ends up finding out that one of her teachers is the heroine, who is his ex from high school and kind of the like girl who got away from him. So he also realizes with everything his sister is going through with life and kind of just like in a hard time that she needs someone to look after her when he is away at hockey games and things. And so the heroine steps in and ends up looking after her. This one was just fun, and seeing how much the hero has been devoted to the heroine the whole time they've been apart. So good. Next up is Gravity by Tal Bauer, and this is MM as well as Friends to Lovers. So in this one, the two heroes end up meeting when they're both participating and playing in this all-star hockey game in Las Vegas together. And one of the heroes has always looked after the other hero's career and has been like a fan of him his entire life. And so they get to meet, they play together, they do like super well on the ice together, and then they form this like friendship off the ice as well. They spend all of their time together, all of their downtime, and they kind of start to feel one another out. Kind of goes from there. Super low angst, super chill, very much a character-driven story. But like, I'm obsessed with this cover. Like, if you're looking for an MM romance, definitely check this one out. Next up is Iced Out by C.E. Ricky, and this is one of my favorite reads of the year, so I definitely can't wait to talk about it. So this one is an MM hockey romance. It also has enemies to lovers and their teammates as well, and it is just so good. So in this one, the two heroes were actually rivals in high school, and then they end up becoming teammates as well in college. And so we cut to 4 years later where they have been playing in college together this whole time, and they're definitely just at each other's throats a lot. One of the heroes comes from like a family of hockey legends, and the other hero is more of a hothead and always like getting into fights. So one night they're at a frat party together, and they end up kind of taunting one another and kind of bantering back and forth. And it ends up with one of them daring the other to get on his knees for him, which he does. They enjoy a super hot and spicy time in a bathroom. And yeah, it kind of goes from there. The next day they end up winning their hockey game. And so the one hero is like, like I feel like that had something to do with it. Like maybe we need to keep up this like enemies with benefits situation if it means we keep winning because of like superstitions and all. So they end up going into this like secret relationship, just hooking up to ensure that their team keeps on winning. I was just obsessed with this one. The tension, the hate that they have for one another in the beginning, so good. It's slow burn, it's emotional, there's like so much character depth. Just like love this book. If there's any book you read from these recommendations, definitely read this one. Next up is Little Lies by Helena Hunting, and this one is so good. It has one of my favorite tropes, which is childhood friends turned enemies turned lovers. So in this one, the hero and the heroine actually grew up with one another. They were part of one another's lives since childhood. And back in their past, the heroine was actually abducted one time when their families were at this like country fair just for like the night. She was found safely and everything, but it definitely traumatized a lot of people when that happened. The hero and the heroine always had this strong bond, but after that traumatic event happened, their parents felt like they were developing this unhealthy like codependency that could lead to a toxic relationship. And so they wanted to separate them, which led to this like whole enemies situation and the hero and the heroine not being around one another for quite a long time. But now they are both in college and they end up being around one another again and even living together along with her brothers as well. This one, like I mentioned, I'm a sucker for childhood friends to enemies to lovers, and this one worked so well for me. I especially loved the audiobook. There's some great mental health and anxiety rep in here. The hero and the heroine just have this like unbreakable bond for one another, which was so palpable and so good to see. And yeah, I just had a great time with this one. Next up is the Carolina Comets series by Tegan Hunter, which I binged the whole series, but one of my favorites in it is One Timer. So this one is a one-night stand turned a surprise pregnancy that worked for me so well, and I had a great time with it. So in this one, the hero and the heroine, we see them meeting. They're in a parking lot. They kind of get off on the wrong foot. She ends up like even hitting him, I think. Kind of goes from there with them then realizing they're there for the same event. It's her sister's wedding to one of his teammates. They're going to be like in the wedding together. And so they end up sneaking off from the wedding and having like a little hookup. So I just loved seeing the hateful banter that they have right from the start. And then, of course, with her realizing she's pregnant later, and then her knowing that the hero is a teammate of her new brother-in-law, like it's very easy for her to get in contact with him. And so, yeah, it kind of goes from there. The surprise pregnancy is mentioned in the synopsis, so I'm not like giving anything away that's not supposed to be. So yeah, I just love this one. I love seeing how they decided to make it work, and they kind of like get to know one another because they definitely didn't know one another before hooking up. Yeah, I just love this one. The hero had always wanted a family, and so it was super fun seeing him kind of going along and planning it for their baby. And just such a fun one. Definitely recommend the whole series if you're in the mood for like low angst hockey romance. Next up is Iced Out by Veronica Eden. This is the first one in her Heston U series, which I am obsessed with the series and cannot wait for more in it. So in this one, the hero is the heroine's brother's rival, plays for like the opposite hockey team. It has the hero falling first, and there is no third act breakup in here. So the hero is the captain of his school's hockey team, and one day during a game, he ends up getting distracted by this woman in the stands who ends up, of course, being the heroine. And like he can't take his eyes off of her, and later after the game, he sees her again at the college sports hockey bar, and he sees her with like the rival team, and they look like they're giving her a hard time, and so he steps in to protect her and save her. And so him and her end up leaving the bar together, and then he finds out after the fact that she was there with her brother, who plays for the rival team, as well as her ex-boyfriend. But yeah, I just loved seeing the hero fall first for the heroine in this one. He's super flirty, super protective, super caring, just like so sweet. And yeah, it was a fun time. Next up is Weak Side by S.J. Silvis, and I absolutely loved this one. I cannot wait to read more in this series from this author. So in this one, the heroine is a dance major at the college and the hero is a hockey player, and they end up becoming roommates at the college because the college messes up her name and puts like her last name as her first name. So they assume she's a guy and they end up becoming roommates in the dorms together. So right away, they don't get off on the right foot. He walks into his room, sees her there, and assumes that she's there as like a puck bunny who broke into his room. And then she, of course, doesn't get a good impression of him right away. So they kind of start off with this like animosity of having to live together, which then eventually leads into a friendship. And then of course more as the story goes on. Is a lot of the hero hooking up with puck bunnies at the beginning of the story, and the heroine is actually in a relationship when the story starts as well. So like if that kind of bothers you, don't read this one. But for me, like I don't care if they're not together yet of all those things like happening. And yeah, the boyfriend she's with, you definitely want him to go as soon as possible. And then when the hero finds out what her boyfriend does to her, he offers to fake date her to protect her. And yeah, it is just so much fun. Next up is That One Night by Emily Rath. This is part of her Jacksonville Rays series. This is actually a prequel novella that leads into her first book in the series, which is Pucking Around. This prequel novella was a lot of fun. Just know that it doesn't end in a HEA or even an HFN, happily for now, because it is the prequel to the actual book. This one we see the hero and the heroine having this like one night stand hookup when they're both in Seattle together. So yeah, this is just like a one night stand hockey romance that leads into the MMF, which is the actual first book in the series. So yeah, I definitely need to continue on. This one is a fun little prequel of seeing their one night stand together. Next up is Offside by Avery Keelan, and this is another one where the hero plays for the rival team of the heroine's ex-boyfriend and brother. So at the beginning of the story, the heroine ends up getting broken up by her boyfriend on her birthday, and she ends up going to the bar with her friends afterward, where she meets the hero who plays for the rival hockey team. So while she recognizes who he is right away, he doesn't really know who she is, and he's very interested in her. So they end up flirting at the bar. She ends up getting drunk, and he ends up saving her and taking her home. And so they kind of form this unlikely friendship from there. I absolutely loved the hero in this one. He is so attentive, the most amazing, supportive boyfriend ever. And in this one, we get a ton of hockey action as well, like at the games. So that was super fun to see. This one was definitely on the longer side, but I loved the relationship so much that I just like didn't care and had a great time with it. Next up is Right Man, Right Time by Megan Quinn. This is part of her Vancouver Agitators series, which I just jumped into this one. It totally can be read as a standalone. So in this one, we see the hero in the prologue about to propose to his girlfriend and then realizing that she's cheating on him. So we jump to 2 years later. He definitely has trust issues, and then he has even bigger problems when his ex ends up coming to work for the hockey team. At the same time, we see the heroine who is a college student and about to do her final project on hockey and like knows nothing about hockey, including who the hero is, but they end up at this event together, and the heroine ends up going up to the hero because the heroine's ex is there dating her workplace nemesis. She goes up to the hero and asks if she can kiss him quickly because her ex is nearby. Kind of goes from there, and it leads into this fake girlfriend relationship because the hero was like, well, I could actually use you too because my ex is also like working for my hockey team, and like this would work out perfectly for both of us. This one's fun if you want to see like some hockey time as well as a fake relationship. So much fun. Really loved the audiobook of this one. Next up, if you just want a little short novella hockey romance, I have Bite the Ice by L.A. Cotton. This one is actually a freebie through the author's like newsletter or on their website. So definitely check that out because you can get, I believe, the ebook or the audio for free. Like I mentioned, this one's a novella, super short. It also has Second Chance, which I love. So this one, the heroine swore off hockey players a long time ago because of her relationship with the hero in the past. And so she ends up going to this Halloween party with her best friend who convinces her to go even though the hockey team is going to be there. She of course runs into the hero there, and the hero sees this as the perfect time to win back the girl of his dreams, the one he like crushed and hurt all those years ago. This one was just a quick bite-sized novella. It had the perfect blend of getting to see the hero and the heroine in the past, as well as their second chance in present day, and just like a really fun time. Next up is Shut Out by Avery Keelan, and this is a brand new one in her series in the same world that Offside exists in. So in this one, the heroine ends up transferring colleges across the country from Arizona to Massachusetts because she wants to be closer to her mother who's going through cancer treatments. And so she ends up moving in with her brother, who is a hockey star at the college, and his teammates and roommates. Gets there and ends up meeting her new roommates. She realizes that one of them is actually a guy that she hooked up with at a Halloween party. This was just so good. The hero is pierced, he's tattooed, he's her brother's friend and teammate. The heroine in this one has ADHD as well, and loved seeing that rep. The author also shared that it is an own voices representation from her own lived experiences. The hero is the broody goalie, and the heroine is kind of more the sunshine one, and I loved seeing them have to keep their relationship a secret, especially from her brother and the rest of his teammates. It has some great banter of like texting. They text back and forth. They ask like 21 questions. This one was a lot shorter than the first book in the series, which was fun. I did want a little bit more hockey time in this one, but I just loved the hero and the heroine's relationship, so I overlooked that. Next up is The Enforcer, also by Avery Keelan. I've just been loving her hockey romances, what can I say? And in this one, we get a second chance hockey romance. In this one, the hero and the heroine ended up dating their freshman year of college, but they broke up and went separate ways, not on good terms, and now it is their senior year and they're around each other because she is one of the new athletic trainers for his hockey team. So the hero and all of his teammates end up getting warned about staying away from the athletic trainers, which of course one of those is the heroine. So it kind of starts off as the hero and the heroine reconnecting. He finds out that her car is in the shop and like she doesn't have a way home. So he ends up offering her these rides after college classes and after games. So they end up reconnecting and kind of keeping the relationship secret for a while. Even though I wouldn't recommend the audiobook because the female narrator, for whatever reason, just really didn't work for me in this one. Otherwise, this is a fun one if you want second chance, as well as like workplace, forced proximity, and all of that. So those are all the recent hockey romances that I have been loving. Let me know in the comments if you have any hockey romances to recommend me. I'd love to know. If you're enjoying these kind of short and sweet trope recommendation videos, let me know in the comments another trope you want to see me do. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one.